The door groaned wide, hinges screaming like they'd rather hold shut. Inside, 5 pairs of eyes locked on the stranger. The fire snapped once, spitting sparks against the blackened hearthstone. He stepped over the threshold slow, hat low, dust still clinging to his boots from the trail. His hand never touched the revolver at his side, though every woman in that cabin saw the weight of it. "You can manage all 5 of us?" one asked, her voice hard as horseshoe iron. She sat nearest the table, shotgun across her lap, knuckles white against the stock. He did not answer at once. The air smelled of wood smoke and beans left too long on the boil. A floorboard creaked beneath his heel. Another woman moved by the window. Curtain tugged just enough to glimpse the horizon. "Riders," she said, tone flat, as if she'd been waiting to see them. Still distant. Not for long. The stranger's eyes narrowed. He shifted, and the firelight caught the silver at his temples. He looked to the women, one sharpening a knife, another tending to bandages already laid out, another cleaning a colt with hands that shook only between breaths. Each one watching him, measuring if the man at their door would stand or crumble when the storm reached them. He set his hat on the table. The scrape of it across the rough wood was louder than it ought to be. "I'll stay," he said, voice low, gravel carried from years on the trail. "But I don't make promises I can't keep." The one with the shotgun leaned forward. "We don't need promises. We need someone who knows how to kill when it comes." Silence stretched. Wind pressed hard against the shutters, rattling them in their frames. The women did not flinch. He saw it then. Not helplessness, but steel worn into flesh from too many nights listening for hoofbeats in the dark. From outside came the distant echo of laughter. Men's voices carried on the canyon air. Too far yet to strike, but close enough to chill bone. The stranger moved toward the fire. Its glow caught the lines carved deep into his face. He bent, feeding another log to the flames. Sparks spiraled upward, scattering light across the walls where bullet holes had already marked their history. "Best start barricading," he said. "Won't be long before they test your windows." The woman at the window let the curtain fall. Her mouth curved, not in a smile, but in something closer to defiance. "Then let them come." The stranger's gaze swept the room once more. 5 women, each bearing scars he could not yet name, in a cabin that had already tasted battle. He felt the weight of it settle on his shoulders, heavier than the pack at his back. Beyond the door, the rider's echoes grew sharper, hooves beating like drums against the hard-pan earth. The storm was already on its way. The fire cracked sharp, and his hand jerked as if it were rifle fire instead. The women saw it, his fingers trembling before curling into a fist. Shadows from the flames dragged long across the cabin walls, stretching like ghosts. He sat at the table, hat brim tilted low, eyes fixed on the wood grain scarred by old knife marks. A bandage lay across it, freshly torn cloth waiting for a wound yet to open. "You've carried war with you," one of the women said. Her voice was quiet, but steady, like someone naming a storm already above their heads. He lifted his eyes. The firelight painted them iron gray. His mouth worked as though to deny it, yet no words came. Instead, he reached his coat pocket and pulled free a tarnished brass button. It clinked against the table. A soldier's relic. The women stared, silence pressing thicker than smoke. Another spoke, the one who had been sharpening her knife. "Men like you don't come down this road by accident. Somebody sent you here." "No," he said, voice rough, the sound of gravel under a wagon wheel. "Nobody sent me. The war ended. I just kept walking." His thumb worried the edge of the button until his knuckle whitened. Outside, the coyotes called low and far, their cries running the ridges like mourners' hymns. He closed his eyes, but what he saw was not night. Flames rising, a farmhouse burning, a woman's scream swallowed by crackling timber. His breath caught sharp. The scrape of a chair broke him from the memory. One of the women poured a tin cup of water, slid it across the table. He drank without looking, though his hand shook enough to rattle the cup. "Those riders," the woman at the window muttered. "They don't just want coin. They want land. They want us gone." He listened, but the words dragged him deeper into the past. He saw canyon trails again, soldiers riding single file, dust cloaking them like shrouds. He heard commands shouted into the desert wind, men dropping one by one under ambush fire. He had led them, once, guided them through slaughter and sand. The women's voices pulled him back, angry, determined. One cursed the cattle baron's name. Another swore she'd rather die behind these walls than be driven out. Their fury filled the room until it hummed against the log beams overhead. The man's gaze lifted to meet theirs. His jaw set hard, as though he tasted iron. They'll come at night. Scouts first, testing the edges. Then fire. Then the whole lot of them. That's how I do it. The one with the shotgun leaned forward, studying his face. How do you know? He didn't answer, not with words. His eyes held theirs, steady now, and in them they saw the battlefield he'd never left. The fire popped again, and this time he didn't flinch. The hammer fell on the nail, sharp and final. Would split under the blow, shutter boards driven tight against the window frame. Another strike followed, then another, the cabin thick with the rhythm of preparation. The stranger's voice cut through it. Higher, reinforced the crossbar. His tone carried no room for doubt. One of the women dragged the plank into place, sweat shining along her brow. Another crouched by the hearth, rolling cartridges across her palm, counting slow, lips moving with each number. Beside her, the youngest scraped flint to steel, lighting lanterns that cast swaying gold against the log walls. The table had been cleared. On it lay rifles, shotguns, pistols, each lined in order, metal gleaming dull in the lamplight. The stranger checked the action on one, the click of the mechanism loud in the silence that followed. Outside, the wind howled low through the canyon, carrying grit that rattled against the shutters. In its wake came hoofbeats, distant, scattered, probing. One woman froze at the sound, knife blade hovering above the whetstone. Another looked up from her sewing, thread tight in her fingers, a strip of linen already stained dark with old blood. Scouts, the stranger muttered. His eyes narrowed as though he could see through the log walls, through the dark itself. Testing the ground. A gunshot cracked outside, sharp and sudden. Splinters jumped from the shutter. The woman with the shotgun swung her weapon up, breath steady, finger close to the trigger. Hold, he ordered. His hand lifted, palm flat, the gesture of a man who had given commands before and expected them followed. Silence fell heavy. Only the wind moved now, brushing dust beneath the door. Another shot, then laughter, thin and cruel, carried off into the night. The hoofbeats retreated. They're measuring us, he said. Counting rifles. Counting nerve. His jaw tightened. Come dawn, they'll bring the rest. The women set back to work, faster this time. Boards hammered tighter. Cartridges stacked high. Rope coiled by the door, lanterns trimmed low. The stranger's voice carried over the hammering, instructing in clipped phrases, how to sight a rifle, how to breathe through the shot, how to cut an angle on a window, so the muzzle flash stayed hidden. The woman with the needle stopped, listening close. Her fingers never slowed, drawing thread smooth through cloth, sewing with the same calm she might stitch a shroud. You've done this before, she said. His reply came after a long pause. Too many times. Outside, thunder rolled, not from the sky, but from the ground. The echo of hooves, not a handful this time, but many. The canyon walls carried the sound, deep and relentless, like drums of war. The women looked to the stranger. He set his rifle on the table, barrel gleaming in lantern light. His face was stone, voice low. Storm's here. The first window shattered in a spray of glass and splinters. A rifle roared from inside, the recoil kicking against the woman's shoulder, smoke curling blue in the lamplight. A scream answered from the dark outside. Hooves thundered past the cabin walls, men shouting, bullets thudding against logs already scarred. The stranger's voice cut through the chaos. Hold fire. Wait till they're close. Lantern lights swung wild as another volley struck. Boards groaned but held. The women crouched low, guns ready, breath sharp in the thick air. Sparks rained where rounds struck stone. Then silence. The riders circled wide, the canyon swallowing their noise. Only the wind moved, carrying dust across the broken window frame. "They're pulling back," one woman whispered. "No," the stranger muttered, eyes fixed on the dark beyond. "They're lining up." A sudden crash, doors rattled on their hinges, iron boots slamming against wood. The cabin shook. Another boot. Another. Then came the rush, men surging forward, howls splitting the night. The stranger moved faster than fear. He shoved the table onto its side, rifles clattering against the floorboards. "Down!" he barked, and the women dropped behind cover. Gunfire ripped through the doorway as the first men burst inside. The shotgun boomed, close and final. A body fell hard across the threshold. Another lunged forward, blade flashing, but the knife-wielding woman met him head-on, steel striking flesh, her cry rising with his. The stranger fired once, twice, each shot finding its mark with the precision of years buried, but not forgotten. Smoke thickened, the air choking with gunpowder and sweat. Through the haze, a scarred face appeared, eyes fixed on the stranger, smile cruel, recognition burning hotter than fire. The man stepped into the doorway, revolver raised, voice carrying over the battle. "Crow, thought you were dead." The stranger's jaw tightened. His rifle lifted, steady as stone. The cabin fell still, as though the fight itself paused for their reckoning. The women froze, watching, the storm of violence hanging in the balance. "You left her," the stranger said, voice low but sharp as a blade. The scar man laughed, a hollow sound. "War leaves plenty behind." They moved in the same breath, one raising, one firing. The report echoed like thunder in the canyon. When the smoke cleared, only one man stood. The scarred rider fell hard, revolver slipping from his hand. Dust settled around him. Silence claimed the room again, broken only by the labored breaths of the living. The women lowered their weapons, eyes wide, faces pale and fierce all at once. The stranger stood over the body, rifle slipping from his grip. His shoulders sagged heavy, like the weight of every battle had finally come due. Outside, the hoofbeats scattered. The riders broke, retreating into the night, their war lost. The cabin held. The stranger set his rifle on the table, his voice barely more than a whisper. "It's done." And when dawn came, the tale was already taking root, of 5 women and 1 man who held a cabin against the storm, and of how legends are carved not in peace, but in fire and blood.